My pussy power's aimed right at you.
Okay.
Tingle. I actually was feeling really called to do a consecration. One of the pillars of Tantra, right?
Yeah, please, consecrate it up.
Offering ourselves as channels. Thank you, Spirit, for bringing the two of us saucy sisses together. La 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 la.
Welcome to Lola's Lounge, where legendary leaders join me for chats, cats, and cacao. And today, I'm so excited and so tingly and sparkly to introduce my dear friend, my soul sister, one of my clients, and an amazing, amazing woman, Cori Cohen.
So excited to have arrived in Lola's Lounge. It feels like the culmination of this portal that we opened a couple months back together. And, I've been on this journey for a few years now, but the portal that Lola and I have opened has brought in a fresh new energy and magic and this next level.
Yes.
And so it's exciting to be on the velvet couch with the cacao and the pussies. The pussies, not the cussies.
We made it.
The kittens, we made it.
It's here, it's time. Yeah. It's so amazing. I want to introduce Cori. Cori is a Tantra teacher, a holistic wellness guide, committed and devoted to heart-centered living, authentic living, and debunking the myths of Tantra and really bringing it and making it sacred. And so Cori is all really committed to transformation and healing, self-discovery through tools like meditation, yoga, Tantra, breathwork, visualization, so much that you bring, and you have such a journey of being in the holistic wellness path, being a dietitian, being an RDN, and having this path of health, and then coming into Tantra and having this be the next path. And so I'm so excited to get into her juicy story, from corporate to plant medicine to coming out as a Tantra teacher and being here now. And
I am fully out of the closet. The Tantra closet door has opened.
Yeah, we're excited to welcome you and share this with the world, because for me, Tantra has been such an important path of sacred sexuality and releasing and removing shame on our life force energy and our creative energy. So welcome, Cori! I'm so excited to have you.
So excited to be here.
So let's get into it. I actually want to start with how we met, because I feel like our whole connection and sisterhood has been related around Tantra.
Yeah.
You are my Tantra sister. So we met a year ago at a random intro to Tantra event. And you just had such a bubbly, vibrant spirit. We connected after. We took our photo. We were like, oh my God. There was such an instant soul sister vibe. And then poof, I didn't see you again until a year later at the Austin Tantra Festival.
Which was a very last minute decision for me. I wasn't sure I was going to go. It was something told me, just buy the ticket, Cori. Just go.
Yeah.
And I think you were one of the main reasons I ended up there.
Oh, well, I got gifted the ticket. The guy who runs it was like, do you want to come? And I'm like, yeah, wow. If God wants me there, so it shall be. And the ticket showed up. And I saw you in your royal codes, and I was wearing royal codes, and we were like, hey, and we just joined. We were together all weekend. My Tantra sister, she tickled my butt.
There were butt tickles involved.
And it was great. It was great. It was such a beautiful connection of sisterhood, and to be on that journey together. And we were Tantra festy besties.
Yeah.
And that solidified our friendship. And we were like, oh, you're a Swazi sister? We're Jewish, we're Tantra girls. Okay, this is a thing. and then we became close friends. And then you hired me to help you with your brand and your content. And then, yay, kitty. And then we just became really good friends through that process. And now we're here. And then I helped you with your first Tantra event, the Art Tantric Touch. And I was at your first event, your second event, and it's just our relationship. It's just a destined Tantra connection.
Tantra sisters.
It's
true. It was one of those soul recognitions. When you're a little kid and you meet someone and you're like, we're going to be best friends. That's how the Tantra, when we met for that second time, that's how it felt.
It was okay.
It's I see you. We're going to be little kids.
I call it instant bestie. We have many past lives together for sure. Witches, priestesses.
For sure. Yeah.
You taught me so much about Tantra. And I was already exploring and learning, but you've really honed it in for me. And just by filming you and helping with your brand, it's helped me so much. So I'm really excited to get into this conversation. Let's just start off with, what is Tantra?
It's a really good question, because people are confused when I say it. Tantra's a holistic spiritual path. It is a way of connecting with our divine essence.
Mm. Yeah. And when people usually hear Tantra, like what do they think about?
Sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, first thing people think of when I say I teach Tantra, which is new for me to actually like say it out loud more.
Mm-hmm.
People look at me like, you teach sex? Like, what? That's sexual, right? You know, that's like the first thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then how do you explain to someone that it's not just sex?
I mean, I say like Tantra is a spiritual path. At its essence, it's about connecting with something higher than ourselves. It's about expanding consciousness and like coming into oneness and like the lifting that veil of separation.
Yeah.
And like letting us feel that we are connected. Tantra, there's parts of Tantras that doesn't even touch on sexual energy.
Yeah. Yeah. What I love about Tantra, because like I was in the yoga path for so long and you're always evolving, and then but yoga, the yoga that I was at, the ashrams, the lineage, it didn't take in our sexual organs. It didn't take in our pleasure. It didn't take that in. So it was like it was repressed, it was ignored, it was made bad, and it wasn't spiritual. And as a deeply sexual stellium Scorpio, you know, slut for life, to have that be so repressed was like, oh, my sexuality isn't spiritual, my sexuality isn't sacred. And then when I discovered Tantra, it was this like, oh, it's all. Yes to all of it. Yes to your whole body. Yes to your whole being. And now Tantra, it's like, it's a fuck yes to life. It's a fuck yes to all of it. It's for feeling the depth, the light, the shame, the shadow, all of it, the pleasure, the pain.
It welcomes all of it. And again, there are parts of paths of Tantra that don't. The path and the lineage that I was drawn to and that I teach from. Yeah. It sees our body, our human bodies, as our greatest instrument to be able to experience the divine.
Yeah, yeah. And Tantra, it's like it heals us, it transforms us, it elevates us, it awakens us, it inspires us, it connects us to the divine. Like I think it's the highest path of feeling life, of like truly like soaking in the juices of life and what our bodies are capable of. Yeah. You got laid off from your job and you started shadowing that woman in the Tantra. Yeah. What was the pivotal moment or that you're like, wow, this is so powerful, that you wanted to devote yourself to learning and exploring and teaching it?
I mean, even that first session where I went with her and kind of like, you know, assisted her in guiding this client, I remember, you know, being a little nervous walking in, and then during it being like, this actually feels really natural and really empowering. And I think, you know, just by being there, you know, as a guide and holding space for someone to connect really deeply with their own life force, just witnessing that was so powerful. And then I began to connect with my own. I was really disconnected from my own life force, you know, especially after years of health coaching in a way that didn't feel as authentic, you know, like it didn't feel as, because there was always that part of me that wanted to share more of the spiritual healing aspect. And I was repressing that because I didn't think it was appropriate in that position that I was doing in that job to like really bring that in. I didn't feel like people were really open to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was like that repression, which led to the burnout, because when we're like doing something that's not fully aligned, when we're not like really in our truth and we're repressing things that we want to actually be like sharing and expressing, it leads to this like deep fatigue.
Your own journey is a reflection of so many other people's journeys of the issues and the problems that we see in the world are burnout, fatigue, sickness, disease, disconnection. Yeah. What would you say the root cause of that is, and how does Tantra play into those issues?
Yeah, I think so much of the physical illness, and not physical, I mean, we have a huge mental health crisis in our world. Yeah. So I think like the mental, emotional distress, so much of it, the root of it is the disconnection from our vitality, from our life force. And part of that is the disconnection from our spiritual oneness. So like that illusion of separation, feeling like we are separate from each other and separate from like the divine, from source, leads to so much illness, physical, mental, emotional. Yeah. All of it.
Yeah. So how does Tantra, if the issue is a disconnection from life force, how does Tantra play into that?
Well, Tantra, I mean, that's like the emphasis of so many of the practices in Tantra is to connect you to your life force energy, to our creative life force potential, and to learn how to like work with it, to harness it, to cultivate it. Like so many of us are walking around and just don't even feel it. We're so disconnected from it. So connecting with it, but then also learning, like the more advanced practices, learning how to move that energy from our lower chakras up to the higher ones, to our hearts.
Yeah.
To be able to feel our divine essence, we need to be able to feel that in our hearts.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and just like what I've been practicing, just the energy of, you know, when we do connect with our energy and our sexual energy, it's like so stuck here. And then I've been practicing bringing it up to my heart, to my crown, having full body orgasms, right?
Yeah.
Like,
right. Like sexual energy. I don't even think we said that before. Like that life force potential, that vitality, that life force is our sexual energy. You can't really separate them.
Right.
Which is why this lineage of Tantra feels really true to me, because I can feel that connection so viscerally, right?
Yeah.
So it's like moving. It's like most of the time people are walking around with that sexual energy very much heavy in the lower chakras. And we need to be connected to our lower chakras. Yeah. That's important. Yeah. But that sexual energy, when it just sits there, it leads to like all the shit we see in our world, right? Like people being sexually assaulted, the distraction of sex, right? Of like just walking around and like being super distracted by it. That's
like letting it control you. Letting it guide your life. Yeah. Right. Rather than being empowered with it.
Exactly. That's when it's sitting in the lower chakras. When we're able to move it upwards is when that sexual energy starts to, you can utilize it for like creativity, for like connecting heart to heart with people. Yeah. It allows us to like fully give and receive love in a more unconditional way. So there's a lot of power in like practicing how to move it up, which you've been, there's also the pleasure aspect, which you've been feeling too. And I think, Tantra, a lot of people are drawn to Tantra for the pleasure. And that's fine. That's cool. It's like almost when people are drawn to yoga, just for the physical exercise.
100%. That's where it starts.
And I used to kind of judge that, to be really honest. There was a part of me judging that. And then I realized whatever the gateway is amazing, right? Whatever gets you there.
Yeah, 100%.
So a lot of times with Tantra, it's actually like people looking to deepen pleasure or to be a better lover. Like most of the clients who find me, it's like a lot of male clients, they want to be better lovers for their partners, which is beautiful. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, that's like a very small piece. Yeah. Then it's the gateway. Yeah. And then realizing, it's so much more than that, because, in order to actually be a really amazing partner, like, we have to be really connected to our own life force energy, our own sexual energy. Yeah. To be able to be present with ourselves before then being really present with somebody else.
100%. You can only meet someone as deep as you've gone.
Exactly.
I know for me, when I was in New Zealand and I was living at the ashrams, and I was with my partner and we were doing yoga, we were so in it, and we were having sex and it was great. And I kept wanting to deepen and want to have I knew there was more. I knew there was more to the sexual connection we could have. Like I knew there was more pleasure. I knew there was more connection and more depth and more God. Like I knew that we could activate it, and I really wanted to. And I started like getting more in my sexual expression and my embodiment, and I really wanted him to meet me there. And I was like, let's do a Tantra training. Let's do this. And he just wasn't available for it. Wasn't there for it.
He wasn't ready yet.
He wasn't ready. And it wasn't a part of him. And he wasn't interested in it. And it was for me. And actually, it's kind of what ended it. And a lot of other things. But that, for me, that deep desire to feel more. And I know that I needed to explore myself and my own pleasure. And I couldn't force him to meet me there. So that was what got me into wanting to discover it. Because I feel like it's just, like you said, the layers of, okay, physical health, okay, eating and digesting, okay, now yoga, okay, now meditation. Now it's like you're going to keep evolving and ascending. And what's next? Okay, like pleasure, pleasure, body, energy, spirit, God, love. Like how can we feel even more in our body? And so that got me on it. Like how can I expand and feel more of this God connection in this physical space? And then when we broke up, it was such a good gateway for me to start practicing and exploring and doing it on my own. So that's what got me into exploring Tantra. The sexual aspect of it, for sure.
Right.
But now realizing it's so much more than that. It's such an energetic connection and divinity, and it's so empowering. Yeah. And I've been practicing on my own. So I'm curious of the different, because when you Tantra, sex, yes, that's a piece of it. There's so much more. Yeah. What is the difference between Tantra and Neo-Tantra and the misconceptions with those?
Yeah, so Neo-Tantra is like what most people in the Western world know of. It started in like the 60s, so it's only been around for a couple of like decades, basically. And Neo-Tantra takes a little bit of the traditional part, some of it, and really focuses and shines the light on the sexual aspects. And in its best version, like when it's done with authenticity, it's beautiful because it's about embodiment. It's about sacred sexuality, but that's really where the focus is. Whereas when we talk about Tantra, like the word Tantra, the path was over 1,000 years old, and there's a lot of overlap with yoga and a lot of like philosophy and a lot of really deep spiritual wisdom. And you can't separate Tantra from the sacred nature of it and the connection to the divine. Whereas like, I think a lot of times what people experience as Tantra, or what's labeled as Tantra here, like in the US and Europe, like the whole Western world basically, is really just, it's more about sex, and the sacred part a lot of times is like completely not, it's just not there. It's not part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know for me, like I've been to a couple of Tantra workshops in Austin. Like some are really great, but some are just like, I feel like people there are just like thirsty and leaky and they're like craving something outside of themselves. And maybe that's why people want to go to Tantra, because they want to find that power. But talk about that, and how, because I feel like some people's visions of Tantra is tainted because of these experiences.
Well, it's kind of like, again, it's like if we're not really working to sublimation is like one of the pillars. There's 3 pillars of Tantra. I don't know. We don't want to go.
Tell me the pillars.
Okay, we don't want to get super technical, maybe, but so the pillars are consecration, which is that making something sacred; sublimation, which is being able to move energy inwards and upwards; and transfiguration, which is seeing like the Shiva Shakti, like seeing the divine in you seeing the divine in me, like seeing beyond the physical. Those are the pillars. So a lot of the Tantra, I think, events and things that are out there, you know, they draw people in because of like the sexuality and the sexiness, but those pillars aren't there. And my teachers were very much like, if you don't consecrate, even if it's not sexual, even if it's just like we're sitting down for like a meditation, a tantric meditation or yoga, without the consecration, it's not Tantra. It's not traditional, real Tantra. It's not authentic. Yeah. So I think that's the part that's missing. And, you know, we talked about, so without sublimation, without like working to move the sexual energy, then those events just become playing in the lower chakras. They become like playing, and that's why a lot of times you hear like that they're leaky. Yeah. Like this is something at least they say a lot in Austin, is leaky container. And that basically means like you're in an environment where it's like you don't feel safe. Like when that word leaky is used, it's usually because people aren't feeling held and safe. And that happens, you know, sexual energy, that happens when it's like not being moved and there's not a connection to something sacred. Yeah.
And that's so important. I mean, sexual energy is so raw and vulnerable, and especially if you have trauma or repression, suppression, I mean, so much of us do, right? Like
it's so powerful.
It's so powerful.
It's powerful. And that's where all the fear around sexual energy comes from, is because like all of these traditions, they all recognized how powerful our sexual energy is. And when something is that powerful, there is, of course, the aspects of it also leading to destruction. I mean, look at our society, right? Like, look at all of the misuse of sexuality and of power, and it hurts people. Yeah. So when there is this disconnection from the sacred aspects and from being able to move the energy, it can be really detrimental, which is why like yoga, like where you were at the ashram, a lot of times they just go, you know, they won't even touch on sexual energy. Yeah. They'll kind of, there's a lot of celibacy, like monks are celibate. And there's a reason for that. It's because that energy, if you don't learn to really like move it and use it in a sacred way, it can bring you to some it's a dark, slippery slope. Yeah. And so I see that a lot in the world of Neo-Tantra. I was going to use my air quotes, but I see that a lot in like these events and these containers and these play parties that they're being labeled as Tantra because it sounds cool. Tantra, it sounds awesome, right? But it just ends up being like another place for like this re-traumatization.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
I've seen it and it's really upsetting to see Tantra being used in that way.
Yeah. So it's not Tantra if you don't give it up to God, if you don't bring the energy and sublimate it up, and if you don't see the divine in someone else.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what makes Tantra.
Those are the pillars. Yeah. That's it.
I love, and it just feels so good. That's like, it's so deep. Through all my sexual explorations and things, I've always termed ego sex and soul sex. Ego fucking, soul fucking. And the difference between that of like, it's just our physical bodies. You're hot, I'm hot, I want you, I desire you. This energy is sex is really good. And then the other part of it, it's like, I see your soul. I feel you. I'm connected to you. Yeah. Our breaths are connected. Our bodies are just like expressing the love that's within our souls. And so I feel like Tantra for me is gets to be soul fucking. It gets to
soul fucking, and it can still be hot and steamy. Yeah. And like
even more so because you're connected.
Right. And I think there's a misconception also that like women want the soul sex, but men just want the hot, like that hot raw sex. The truth is, like I've seen it, like when men and women are both in that space, it deepens intimacy. So it makes it feel like sex could be really amazing. And then afterwards, there's like this almost like a void feeling. And it's not just for women, it happens for men too. And have you ever seen it in your own relationships and friendship, like with friends where like they have sex and then all of a sudden it's like they feel almost like more disconnected afterwards?
Literally, that's ego sex.
It's so it's so painful.
It is, because you're like, I just had this energy and this connection and they're like, oh, I'm empty.
I've
definitely had that.
Like I've felt that so many times. And when you're able to, and it's a journey. It doesn't mean every time like you connect with someone sexually that it's gonna be perfect. But like when you're doing it in a tantric way, when you're bringing that like sacred into it, and when both of your intention is to deepen into intimacy, you actually feel more like fulfilled and closer after sex, which is like, that's what I want. That's what I desire.
Yes.
It's like such an intimate act so it's bringing actual like real intimacy into such an intimate act.
So if someone's been on the spiritual path or on the yogic path and they're new to Tantra, what are the first steps or the first places for them to begin to explore and actually connect to that life force energy?
So there's books out there, but I really recommend finding a teacher that resonates because there's so much that in Tantra, it's considered like an oral transmission. There's so much that is a transmission from someone who's been on the path versus just reading words. There's a lot of power to that.
I feel that.
I have experienced that and feel it really deeply. Yeah. So for me, like I would always recommend like the teachers that I learned with are amazing. Om Tantra, Marco and Amita, they're amazing. They have a lot of really great resources and I really trust them. Yeah. Maybe signing up for like a virtual class with them. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to dive into the deep end right away. You don't have to like do a Tantra teacher training and spend a month in Mexico. There's smaller steps to get there, just to learn some of the tantric meditation and some of the breath work and some of the yoga, chakra yoga. So in Tantra, like tantric yoga works with the chakras. So there's a lot of physical practices, like practices that you do with your body and with your breath, and then a lot of meditative practices that you can learn through books and through teachers that can help like get you started. Yeah.
So if someone is single and they don't have a Tantra buddy or partner, and how would they start to connect with their own creative sexual life force energy? And
that's the beautiful thing, is that even if you do have a partner, I think it's so important to connect with your own life force energy first. You don't need to be like being in a tantric lovemaking ceremony or ritual with your partner. That comes afterward. Like the foundation is building it within yourself first. So you don't have to be partnered. Yeah. I was actually celibate first year and a half of my journey with Tantra. Yeah. So I was practicing on my own, and there's so much beauty with like practicing with a partner. It's very powerful.
So what does that look like? Practicing
on your own.
Yeah.
So practicing on your own is tapping into the life force energy, which again, there's a lot of like different yoga poses. There's different breath work to be able to like tap into the energy and start to circulate the energy through your body, which involves like visualizations. It involves breath work. And that's part of what I love teaching people. Because most of the time when I'm teaching, I do teach couples and I love teaching couples, but I also teach a lot of people that are unpartnered, that are single. And so when I'm teaching them, I'm guiding them in a practice where they're moving that life force energy through visualization and through their breath. So there's so many like powerful practices, which I love. And they're so practical too.
Cool. We love a practical practice.
Tantra can be very practical.
Yeah.
It's very esoteric in some aspects, but I love it because there's so many practices.
Yeah.
Practical practices.
Practical magic, we like to say it. So I feel like there are two types of energy that you can cultivate with Tantra.
Yeah.
The like grounded, centered, if you're feeling low energy, how do you like depleted? How do you get grounded and centered? And then how do you like activate and turn on? You know, so what would be like a go-to practice for like, I'm feeling overwhelmed. How can I ground and center in a tantric way?
One of my favorite ones for grounding is getting on the earth, like feet, like bare feet, like in the earth, and then connecting my root chakra. So connecting the base of my body to the earth. And even if you're not outdoors, you can do this like anywhere. So there's different poses like Yoni Asana it's ever since I've been on this tantric path, I find myself sitting this way just naturally all the time. Like even how I'm sitting right now in rock pose, it's like my toes, my feet right now are touching my root chakra. Nice. So it's just simple things like that. And then tuning in with the breath. So like really like grounding. Do you want to do Yoni Asana with me real quick? We could show them. So Yoni Asana is sitting. And if you're not flexible enough to do this, you could also put like a pillow underneath you.
I love it. We're doing
but
it.
It's
I feel sexy already.
And it's funny because this is grounding and activating, actually.
Oh, okay,
it's both.
Yeah.
So feeling the root chakra, so that base of your body, the perineum, actually connected to the ground. And then having your hands either like pressed on your thighs or, I can't do it here, but like having your fingertips touching the floor beside you. So just imagine there's a floor here. And then just beginning to breathe, imagining that energy at the base of your spine. So that point where you're connected to the ground and feeling that energy, really breathing into the root chakra. And then allowing that energy to begin moving up. So it's almost as if you're breathing through your root, like through that
breathing
base
through
of your
the butthole.
body. Breathing through what?
Breathing through your butthole. No. I'm butthole breathing. I don't know about you.
if you have a yoni, breathing like imagining the yoni.
Okay.
Breathing.
Yoni breathing. Pussy breathing. Okay.
Pussy breathing.
That feels good.
Just like breathing with it. And also like for grounding, the sighing breath. So in Tantra, just as in other forms of yoga, the power of our voice, like moving sexual energy, moving life force energy through the throat chakra is really powerful. It's really activating too. So we can do a couple of like deep breaths together where we're just sighing, like really like let that expression go.
Yeah. And isn't it cool because isn't the throat the same shape as this? It's like literally connected.
There is a really strong connection between our throat and our pelvic floor.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother topic, but the pelvic floor holds so much tension.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the biggest gifts of like Tantra for me actually has been like realizing that, like recognizing how much I hold there and being able to start to like relax that. Because in Tantra, like we relax into pleasure.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas in like normal, like sex, like the type of sex that most people are having, there's a tension and like a friction and like a holding versus being able to like relax into pleasure.
That's huge. Everyone's like, let's go really hard and really fast and orgasm. But Tantra is like, let's relax.
Tantra's relaxing into our pleasure. And I was so like, my mind was blown when I realized how there's all these like other layers, these subtle layers of pleasure that we can experience when we relax into it.
Yeah, the surrender. Like what
surrender.
when we surrender and relax and create space in our bodies, we can actually feel more subtle sensations and more of our inner energy and expand that.
And there's so much pleasure in those subtle sensations, which we like are cut off from.
Right, because it's literally just like go hard, go fast.
And that desensitizes us.
Yeah.
Like this actually like causes like desensitization
and, like,
of the tissues.
And also vibrators and stuff. That desensitizes you.
Oh, yeah.
So bad.
It's our entire like culture and society around sex is built on harder, faster, in a way that like I was programmed to think that's what I liked.
Yeah.
Like for years.
But Tantra is like slow and deep and present. And you get to feel more.
You feel so much
and
more.
You can heal things when you're present to the slowness. You can heal anything that might be there. That's like shame.
Our sexual energy is so transformative and can be so healing. But when we're just having sex in a way where we're like disconnected, we're not present with our own bodies or with our partners, then it's not
so sad. And then we're empty after, and it's like bad. And then we want more, and then we're empty. Yeah, it's like void. Rather than
it becomes like a drug, like a high and a low.
Oh my God.
Instead of this like generative thing that sustains us and that elevates our energy. There's so much potential when it comes to, and again, it's not just about sex. Like there's so many things in Tantra that could help us to like connect with this energy. Yeah. But Tantric sex, the thing that makes it so much like so healing and powerful is exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
It's like allowing it to move us, to be in our hearts.
Yeah.
Instead of just like friction, tension, hard, fast, goal-oriented.
So juicy.
There's so much more. There's so much potential.
Yeah, so much potential. The pleasure potential. And also the just bringing in like, sex magic and like the manifesting through pleasure and manifesting through bringing the energy up and like getting into this peak state of pleasure and then being like, what do I dream of? And like, and having that prayer and that intention while you do that. I mean, that is like the next level manifestation.
And that like the reason that has become such a big thing is because like when we're connected to our sexual energy, present with it, and it's not in our lower chakras, when we move it up, that's where the potential comes from it to connect us to something higher, to the divine. Yeah. I don't see it as I don't see sex magic as like something as like, it's not like what our like lower selves want.
Yeah, right.
Like
it's like we can go into it with a desire that we think we want, but then it's like we give it up to God.
For me, it's more For me, it's more like connecting with the divine through our sexual energy and allowing that to bring the magic into our lives.
Yeah, like that's the co-creation with the divine for the highest good of all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times it's way bigger than anything our mind can even dream of.
Yeah. Totally.
So connecting to that.
Connecting.
So juicy.
I know. Whenever I do sex magic, I just imagine like making love to my soulmate and God. I'm like, that's the highest desire that I want and that we're here for, divine union, Okay, we had a great tangent. That was so good. Are we doing something here? Or was that it? Was that the thing?
I think that was the thing.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So breathing in.
So like Yoni asana is like the way we're seated. Yeah. And that's like a great grounding. And then beginning to work with the breath and bringing it through the sexual organs, like bringing the breath up through the sexual organs, up to the heart and all the way up through the crown. That could be really like as an activating, because you asked about grounding and activating.
Yeah.
So a lot of the practices in Tantra, now that like you're actually asking me this question, are both, which is beautiful, because I feel like to really, really feel connected higher, it's important for us to be grounded.
Yeah. Or just flying out the window.
Or else we're just dysregulated. Which I've experienced with plant medicine and other experiences that I've had, where like, it's great. It blows your third eye wide open and like could be amazing and healing. But if you don't have the grounding aspects.
Yeah, that's so important to be here in our bodies, connected to the earth, like bringing that energy up.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. I wish we sat like that the whole time.
We should have started in
I know, probably. That's okay. We consecrated, so that was a vibe. Okay, you ready? We're going to do the quick fire word association games. I'm going to say a word, and the first thing you think of, say it.
Okay. I feel like my eyes need to be closed.
Okay, tune in. Close your eyes.
I'm going to tune in.
Tap into your heart. Tantra.
Sacred.
Sex.
Connection.
Sexuality.
Intimacy.
Consecration.
Powerful.
Chakras.
Energy.
Intimacy.
Beauty.
Sublimation.
Higher power.
Divine union.
Just so beautiful.
Yeah. Ritual.
Safety.
Sexy.
Lola.
Oh, okay. Cacao.
Yummy.
I knew you were going to say that.
Because that cacao today was extra yummy. Yeah.
Lola.
Rock star. Let's go!
Yes,
rock star. Girl's a rock star.
I love it. This YouTube episode. Epic.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. So yeah, thank you so much for being on here. I love this conversation.
So fun.
I really am excited for people to hear about Tantra and the truth and the actual practical ways of engaging with it and the sacredness of it. So thank you for bringing that sacredness and bringing your flirty, fun energy. Yay! So if people want to learn more about you and more about Tantra, where can they find you?
So right now, best place to learn more about my offerings and to connect would be on Instagram. So my Instagram is @Cori D. Cohen.
Yay. And what are your upcoming offerings? What are you offering to the community? What's coming up for you?
So I'm really excited. We have June 1st coming up really fast.
Yeah.
Is Sparkle Slut Play Day, where I'll be leading a tantric energy activation alongside all these amazing facilitators and my sisters, my besties.
Yes.
That's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
So that's the next thing coming up. And then at the end of June, I'll be having my 3rd Art of Tantric Touch couples workshop. Yeah. And I'm really excited for this one because we're going to open with a cacao ceremony, like a heart-centering cacao ceremony led by this beauty.
Yay.
So,
which I'm so excited about because I've been doing cacao ceremonies for a couple of years, mostly for women to connect to our hearts. And I've always dreamed of doing it for couples because that's what I've guided a lot of, men that I've connected with in Tantra cacao ceremonies. And cacao in the beginning of Tantra is so beautiful because it opens your heart, it deepens.
Yeah, I think cacao is like the perfect plant, do you consider cacao like a plant ally?
Plant ally.
Okay, so it's like the perfect plant ally for Tantra because it gets you into your heart.
Yeah.
And so, I'm really excited. And it's earthy. So it's like the grounding and the heart.
So nice. I'm excited for that. I love co-creating with you. Tantra sister forever.
And we're Tantra sisters, so it makes sense.
I know. Yay. So, thank you so much for being on this episode.
Thanks for having me in Lola's Lounge.
Yay. Yeah, I just love you so much. So,
I love you. I want to get my mittens on her. Get my mitts on that. Yeah.
We need to get the cats for the final scene. Yay! The pussies are here. So now you know it's complete. Thank you for joining me at Lola's Lounge, where legendary leaders join me for chats, cats, and cacao. And this is the place for all the juicy conversations about Tantra and being healthy, wealthy, and sexy. So, meow, meow, meow. Yay! What are your final message to the listeners at home?
My wish for everyone who is tuning in is that you're able to really tap into that life force energy and to feel its transformational power and its healing.
Yeah.
My wish for you.
Yay. Blessings on that.
Blessings and blessings.
Thank you. And so it is, and so it shall be.
So it is.
Mwah. Yay! Boom. Branded.
You know when you're...
Don't throw up there. She was just like, fucking Oreo. Yeah, Oreo.
It's funny because our energy together gets very excited and all over the place.
I know, it's so fun.
So that means more editing, but
whatever, it's a vibe.
Hi, kitten. Oh, I've never picked up a cat before. It's my first time picking up a cat.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Looks like it.